Okay, so, and this is where our paper comes in. So our criticism is, well, in all of these studies, so what people have done is they simply took a look at a single entrepreneur VC relationship, right? And tried to figure out, okay, what is the optimal contracting environment? So how does the environment affect VC contracts? We said, well, I mean, that's a little bit too simplistic. So in order to understand the VC market, so we have to go back one step, right? And take a look on the entire VC market, right? So a market where we have multiple VCs and multiple entrepreneurs, where actually VCs are competing for ideas. And what we find is a third effect. And this is what we call the endogenous matching effect. So endogenous matching effect arises whenever some VCs compete for ideas, right? So imagine you have this Google idea in the market, and there are many ideas, there are many VCs knowing that making an investment in this idea is very, very profitable. Okay, so now we start competing for the Google idea. So, and what we find is whenever we introduce competition in this market, or we increase competition, then all ventures in this market, they do receive more capital. And more interestingly, is that all these ventures are now more likely to survive. Okay. So I will talk about some policy implications later on, but the first result here is that, well, the selection of the treatment effect might be not that important as predicted. Okay, and again, I mean, this would have important policy implications. Okay, so this is what people have considered before, and this is again one of our major criticism of the previous literature, econ and finance literature. So many scholars just focused on a single venture capitalist entrepreneur relationship, right? So we do have a certain quality of the idea of the entrepreneur. We do have specific expertise on the VC side, so the match, and this, the idea quality and the expertise of the VC determine the specific match quality, right? So how valuable, how profitable this particular relationship can be. Okay, so VC makes an investment and in return gets an equity stake. Okay, and so what we basically do in this paper is, well, okay, that's too simplistic. Let's go one step back and consider the entire VC market. Okay, now. I just want to give you the basic intuition. So if you're interested in the technical details, you will find this paper on the memory stick. Okay. So what we get is, well, that the VC market, somehow looks like this, right? So we have multiple VCs, we have multiple entrepreneurs in this market. Some entrepreneurs don't receive financing, right? So they remain unmatched. But actually, what happens now is, so let's suppose we do have a single VC entrepreneur match, right? So now the VC knows that this entrepreneur has simply no outside option. So if he wants to pursue his innovative business idea, well, he relies on my capital. So I, as a VC, have lots of bargaining power, lots of market power. I can really screw this entrepreneur over, right? I can really dictate contract terms. Now, in a market setting, well, this is not true, right? Because if I really try to screw this entrepreneur over, well, I mean, he has an outside option, right? So you can simply reject my offer and go to a different VC, right? And ask for, better contract terms. So by accounting for this competition effect, or what we call endogenous matching, well, what we get is, well, VC, in order to retain this entrepreneur, right? So investing in this idea is very profitable, but you don't want to lose this entrepreneur, so you have to offer more. So you have to offer the entrepreneur a more favorable contract, which again increases capital, right? So the entrepreneur receives capital, and what we find, most interestingly, is that the entrepreneur of a new venture now is more likely to survive. Okay, so the competition effect has an effect on the survival rates of new ventures. Okay, so again, so the key contribution of this paper is that we identified a third effect, the endogenous matching effect. Well, every academic could probably share my excitement to have identified a new effect. However, practitioners usually argue, yeah, so what? Right? I mean, why is this important? I mean, what can we do with this, endogenous matching effect? Okay, so So I want to use the remaining, 5 minutes to briefly talk about the applications of this endogenous matching effect. So how we can apply or exploit this endogenous matching effect to improve the efficiency of VC markets. Okay, so what our model essentially suggests is, well, the total fund size in a VC market is very important, but it's not the only important factor. So what we really need is a very large number of VCs in this market, right? So VCs competing for the top ideas in this market. Okay, so how about we just encourage more market entry into into the VC market? So again, this is a very stylized illustration of what's going on in the VC market, but I just want to give you the idea what's going to happen if we actually lower barriers to entry, encourage more VCs to enter the market and to finance new entrepreneurs. Okay, so without this entry, without this VC having entered the VC market, so this entrepreneur wouldn't receive any financing, right? So now when we encourage market entry, well, this entrepreneur is clearly better off because now he receives financing, he can pursue his business idea. Now, without market entry, so the higher ranked entrepreneur would have had no outside option, okay? So he would have been compelled to simply accept every offer from the corresponding VC. But now with market entry, so the new VC is also willing to make a bid or to make a contract offer to the next entrepreneur. Okay, so he will get a better contract, right? So more capital, he's more likely to survive, which essentially means that in order to retain this entrepreneur, the corresponding VC has to offer more surplus, right? Or more, so has to have to give up part of the profitability or profit of the venture. Now the next effect is, well, if my profit as a VC goes down, then I benefit relatively more from investing in the next best idea. So I am willing now to bid more aggressively for the next best entrepreneur. So his outside option goes up, while the corresponding VC is forced to offer more favorable contract. This VC's profitability goes down, hence is willing to make a more aggressive bid to the next higher entrepreneur and so on and so forth. Right? So what you can see is, well, just by having one VC entering the market, so we have an effect which travels up the ladder. And this is what we call the ripple effect of market entry in the VC market. Okay? So the interesting observation here is, well, so everything we need in the VC market to improve the overall efficiency of the VC market is to have one more VC entering this market. Right? So competing for some entrepreneurs in this market, and eventually, because of this intensified competition, so all ventures, all entrepreneurs in this market benefit. They do receive more financing, and on average, they are more likely to succeed. Okay? So this is what we call in economics, well, positive externality, right? So one firm enters the market, and then everyone in this market is better off. Okay, so essentially what we need is, or what we recommend is, well, we should allow more VCs entering the market. Right? So we need more VCs competing for ideas, but I just want to briefly talk about some political or public debate where some people actually argue, well, we should do the opposite. Okay? So many, some politicians and many policymakers argue, well, we should actually prevent market entry to the VC market because apparently some VCs, they burn money, right? So they invest in, hopeless ventures. Okay? And to give you one example, Senator Chris Dodd from Connecticut, he's actually proposing that angel investors have to register with the SEC, and and he wants to double their income and wealth baseline. So he wants to actually increase the barrier to entry for angel investors, right? So, but this is actually the opposite to what our model suggests, right? Or what our research study suggests. We actually want to reduce regulatory hurdles to encourage more VCs to enter the market, right? To start competing for the top ideas, and then entrepreneurs will be better off. They receive more capital, and where ventures are more likely to succeed. Okay? So increasing the number of VCs is very important. So the absolute fund size, the total fund size, again, is still important, so there's no doubt about it, but the number of VCs in a market matters as well. Right? So ideally what we want is more VCs entering the market, so competing for the top ideas, instead of having one big VC managing